To our beautiful and amazing royals of Africa, Mbolweni, my dear children, this is your queen, Queen Ngningone II, 17th generation, crown queen of the Fang people and of the diasporans Africans, also known as the immortals. In a previous video, I covered that somewhere down the road, we dropped the ball. The reason why really things go really bad for us in life is because we have turned our back to our ancestors. I mean, you watch the gentleman on that video. What did that gentleman say? I'm like, he said, how would you feel if you are that African ancestor? Because as you know, we don't die. You know, we just transition to another realm, and here they are watching us, they are seeing us, and what they're seeing us do, selling out, completely selling out, you know, trying to, you know, erase anything that links us back to them. We want to change their names. We want to change the spelling of our names. Some of us Africans, that's all they do when they come to America. They want to come and Americanize their names. We have turned our backs to our ancestors by, you know, adhering to other religions, by accepting other religion, by worshiping other gods, by swearing oaths to every and anything, but we can't dare call them, we can't dare acknowledge them, we can't dare pour libation for them, we can't dare do anything. That's why we suffering. And please know that the oppressor did all that rightfully so. They've been at war with us, so whatever they could use as a weapon against us, they're gonna use. It's up to us to see that since I lost this, I became weaker. Since I lost this, I lost ground. Since I lost this, I lost strength. Since I lost this, I lost power. It's up to us to decode all that. It's not their job to do. They don't care. They could care less. Okay, my people, let's continue. We have loose cannon, very sick individuals on both sides, in the diaspora and on the continent. We have people who have lost complete touch and complete sense of who they are. It's so painful to watch. It hurts. But and yet you have to understand that the people in the diaspora were brought young. They were brought young. They took our children. What does it mean? They brought your ancestors as young boys and young girls. I mean, the cutoff age was probably like 21. In anyone older than 21, I mean, you have to really look younger than 21 because they would either kill you or the young ones, they would take the young ones and take them away. It was rough, it was tough. And the former masters did everything they could. They ensured they did everything to keep their mindset at that young state, you know, for them to always think as boys. That's why they insisted in calling them boy, to keep them in that mind state of boy. It was intentional. They couldn't dare bring older people. It was gonna be popping, it was gonna be on everywhere. So they were bringing the young ones. That's why until today, our people look at the diasporan as children, because this is who you are to us. And they brought you guys as kids. Why as kids? So they can manipulate you, so they can brainwash you, so they can do all these things they were able to do to you guys. So you have to understand that a lot of mind fucking, like our children in America say, mind fucking people. That's how they do that. Yes, I'm using that word because that's the only word in their English jargon that really makes sense for me to use. I mean, it's a mind mess up, you know, kind of thing to our children. But I want our children to know out there that they are resilient, okay? They are survivor and they are strong and they're gonna pull it off. They are going to pull it off. We are already awakening. I know that, you know, compared to other group of us, Africans, our children, the Africans born in America, you know, they get, you know, a bad rap and stuff. And of course we know why. You know, they they fell in the hands of the worst of their savages. You know, in America, no doubt about it. I mean, we see the people, our people in Brazil, our people in Latino America, the Spanish and the Portuguese and the French, they were not all about stripping you naked of your own humanity. They were not about that. You know, you can clearly see, not to say that I prefer any of them. They should have left us alone. That's what I would have preferred. They should have done, okay? Nevertheless, you have to give it to our people in America. I know many of our children in the southern states, you know, they preserve, no matter what, they preserve something African in them. They preserve, you know, a little tradition, a little memory. Not all of you got lost, not all of you got broken. So it shows you how resilient, how strong our people are. I wouldn't want any of you to go around walking around with your head down, like feeling like kind of ashamed, almost like embarrassed or whatever. No. We need to look at ourselves as very strong people, very strong individuals who have survived one of the world's most horrible history. We are resilient. So I would like, you know, each one of us to keep that in mind. Number one, okay, we come from a very strong group of people, very resilient group of people. Don't believe the stories that your kings sold their children. It's nonsense. By now, if you have watched my previous video, you will know that it doesn't make sense. Africa was, you know, full of wealth. Europe was in recession. Europe was poor. Europe was full of disease. Europe was overpopulated. Europe had every so-called reason to seek for expansion, and that's exactly what Europe did. They expanded in the Americas, and they used slave labor from the Africans and the wealth of the Africans to build their new world. Point blank, period. Simple as that. For those of you who still go around, oh, ancestors sold us, please sit in somebody's classroom. Okay, so let's continue. You have to understand that a lot of lies were told to us as the weapon of war. After all, we were the descendant of these kings they murdered. They can tell whomever they want to say that it was a slave trade, but they're trading with people today. These people don't wind up dead. Our kings wind up dead and our kingdoms destroyed and their children taken into slavery and their art looted into their museum. These are acts of war. So if they told you guys that your own father sold you, it's a way of telling you stop resisting, because even you yourself is gonna defeat you to know that your own father didn't fight, your own father did all the horrible things they accuse. Of course, lies are weapons of war. So when they put that in your mind, number one, you don't want to fight them. You don't feel that you should even. You like, even if I break free, I have no home to go to. So you see how it works? All right. So even if he tries to resist me, even if he tries to fight me, actually he has nowhere to go. So he's going to have to submit. This is how they submitted you guys, beat you to submission. It's stuff like that. Number one, you have no future except the one I choose to give to you. Number two, you have nowhere to go. Your own people sold you. This is how they mind fuck people. All right? Forgive my French, but that's the word I choose to use for what they did. So now that we know, we have to, break free from that trauma, because I can't just imagine, living all my life and being told that my own people, the people I come from, sold me. It shows you how strong our people are. It shows you how smart, how resilient. I don't care what anybody else said. Many people wouldn't have survived it. Many people would have been completely messed up. But it's not the case of our people. And now we are the privileged ones, the generation who will actually enter our season of healing and then the era of our rise. Okay? So no matter how broken, but still kudos. So we go from there. Now, we have to go back to who we are. We have to go back to what makes us sons and daughters of our forefathers. What makes us worthy of inheriting the crowns? What makes us worthy of inheriting their gifts and their talents and so on? What makes us worthy of being their legacy? Because if you have watched my videos, you have watched that in previous videos, I did thoroughly covered on our royalty, the people we come from, and how we shouldn't carry ourselves lightly. We are very peculiar, English. We are a very peculiar group of people. You know, we are born into royalty. So with such identity, we have to be careful the way we carry ourselves. And in order for us to go back to wearing our crown, we have to go back to who we are. So it opens up the topic for today's lesson. So we're going to start. Before I can teach you on how to do this, how to do that, I have to first, as your queen, redirect you to who our elders teach us, that is our source. Okay? My dear children, in today's video, we are going to talk about reconnecting with our source, reconnecting to our ancestors. If you ask me, you know, we are suffering today because we have intentionally cut the cord that linked us to our source. We have cut the cord, you know, we have let ourselves getting conquered to completely turn our backs to our ancestors. When in the Bible it says that we will be scattered and we will serve gods that our forefathers didn't know or didn't serve. It is so true. This is the time we are living in, you know, because the oppressor was successful enough to make us, you know, cut that cord. So when that umbilical cord is cut, we are completely disconnected from our source, from Tatanzambe. And what does it cause us to be? It causes us to live in fear. It causes us to have panic attack. It causes us to seek love, validation, appreciation from the wrong places, from the very same people who have murdered our forefathers, made us orphan, and put us in this predicament. So we have to be careful out there. We have to, you know, take a step back. If I were you, I would start applying as a resistance kind of thing, especially anything that touches to our spirituality. Anything in there that discourage you, they tell you don't, start exploring it. Go in, tap into it, ask, connect to your source, to your ancestors, and ask them to have Tatanzambe reveal to you the truth about it. This is what I started doing. When they say you should go left, I'm like, they are our enemies. They've been our enemies. They've been molding and preparing everything for us to remain lost. Why should I trust whatever they say? Why should I take whatever they say face value? It's going to take us to start critically think, you know, regardless of the holy book you use, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, I don't know which is, or you're always going to find number one, honor God in truth, in spirit, you know, worship Him, honor Him and everything. But and then they're also going to say honor your parents. Who are your parents? Your parents are your ancestors. So our elders tells us that the original, you know, text said honor your ancestor. Based on the African definition of ancestor, I will get into it. So I'm going to get more into defining ancestor per the African definition of it, because even in definition, of what the word ancestor is, there's a big difference between what they say it is and between what we know it is. Consequently, it means that God comes first. It means that God is at the top of the pyramid. So God comes first. But and then between you and God, there's your ancestors. That's the hierarchy. This is who links you to God. God knows you through them. God went into covenant with them. God knows under which name He established them. God knows from who we come from. Even when we get lost, even when the enemy makes us believe we are somebody else than who we truly are. But if we just obey this rule of always connecting to them, always referring to them. So when we make it a habit, especially for our children in the diaspora, still, looking for their roots. So when you make it a habit to just say, hey, Tata Nzambe, we were going to catechism, they were calling God all kind of other names. They call Him Jesus, they call Him Christ, they called Him Jehovah, they called Him Yehovah, they call Him all kind of names. But we knew better. You know why? Because at home, all we heard our parents, our grandparents, everybody around us refer to God as Nzambe. Hey, Tata Nzambe. And I would tell my grandmother, but at church they tell us that His name is Jehovah. He said Nzambe is the name of the God of our ancestor. We, the Bantu people, come from Nzambe. It was end of discussion. So we already knew that the white people were telling us the name of a God, but we better in time of trouble call the one we hear our grandparents mention, and that one was Nzambe. So we knew the God of our ancestor was Nzambe. So we could go to catechism, but still when we pray to Nzambe. It has been like that. So we know that between Tata Nzambe and us, there's our ancestors. So if I'm so lost, the enemy has fed me a lot of rubbish. So you go to your ancestor first. That's the hierarchy. It's to your ancestors. You submit your plea, your complaint, your this, your that. They're the one who know you. They're the one who take your prayers and rush them to Tata Nzambe. That's what our elders tells us. So people say, oh, don't acknowledge the answer. So no wonder it takes forever for you to manifest what you want. Because they're the one who take our petition and rush them to Tata Nzambe. So they can't be out of the equation. Us alone, us disconnected from our ancestor, we are lost in the eyes of Nzambe. He knows us through the ancestors, through our ancestors. He knows us through them. So it is important that we go through them, okay? In consulting Him, in talking to Him, in anything we choose to do. Us, we are the proof that God exists. Our elders tells us that we are the human expression of God on earth. So our elders tells us that we are related to Tata Nzambe through the delegatory transmission of powers. So let me explain how are we related to Tata Nzambe. Our elders tells us that the expression of our existence is done through a delegatory power from God to us through our ancestors, okay? So we don't get the power unless we receive it from our ancestors. So that's what our elders tells us. So you see how you cripple yourself when you remove them from the equation, when you remove them from your life, when you bind them. We are connected to Tata Nzambe. We are related to Tata Nzambe through our ancestor. Whatever that is an expression of Tata Nzambe, whatever is an expression of God in us, be it our spirit, our beauty, our intellect, our strength, our whatever we got from Tata Nzambe as an expression of Him on earth in flesh and blood. Whatever we got from Tata Nzambe, we got from him through our ancestors. He gave to our ancestors and our ancestors gave us. Okay? So what does it mean? It means that we will manifest more. Our dreams will tend to come true more when we get them involved. When we go to Tata Nzambe, we present our petition to our ancestors who take it to Tata Nzambe. Because Tata Nzambe doesn't know us per se directly. He knows us through our ancestors. Okay, my people? Okay? So, you have heard people say that we are gods in human forms, in body forms, yes. But how did we get that power from God? We got it through our ancestors. God gave to our ancestors and our ancestors brought us about. So you understand how lost we will become if our connection to our ancestor, if it's disrupted, if it's cut, if it's severed. It means that we would have lost connection with our source. It means that we would have lost connection with Tata Nzambe. It explains why we are so dysfunctional today. We are lost. Anybody manipulates us and makes of us whatever they see fit. Come on. We have children in America who are now believing that they're indigenous of this place. We are children in America who, believe all their lies and secretly hates African with the passion. They hate us with a passion. Secretly, we have children in America who have learned the ways of their masters. They will hate you deeply, but and yet come around you and cut you from within. So when you see all this, you understand the power of, our spirituality. Because all this is only possible to a group of people you have been able to successfully alienate from their roots, from their ancestors, and ultimately from their source. As you know, a lot of our people are sick, a lot of our people are dysfunctional, and all that dysfunction is a mere expression, a mere result of the consequences tied to the loss of that connection to our source. Because what we're doing in our churches, hallelujah, oh Jesus, oh this, oh hallelujah, it's a waste of breath. Okay? We have to properly connect to him, and we connect to him through our ancestors. He knows us through our ancestors. Connecting to our source, our creative source through our ancestors is the safest thing you can do, because your ancestor would lead you to the right source, the true source you guys come from. So what does it mean? That's why the Jews can get away with having a nameless God, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whomever our source is. As long as we connect to it through our ancestors, we can trust our ancestors to lead us to the correct source. So when they told you that yours are demonic, when they told you that yours this, yours that, and they force you to their religion, because like you saw the rabbi, the French rabbi in that video say that just like they forced colonialism on our ancestors, they force their religion on us. So to my beautiful and amazing royals of Africa, that would be it. I think this is how far we could go on YouTube. Let's continue this conversation on the other side. Coming up next on Patreon, I will define the word ancestor per the Bantu people. And I will take it a step further by teaching you the proceeding of reconnecting, reconciling to your ancestors. So that's the first step to our healing. So my dear royals, if you would, follow me on Patreon. The link is in the description box below. See you there. Until next time, peace, love, and unity.